My name is Bob Stewart. This handsome gentleman across from me, digitally across from me, is Grant Gould.
Yep.
We are going to share with you guys over the next hour the Brevity platform, and we're going to focus today kind of specifically on the program inside of Brevity, Grant, that you created for us, that you manage for us, that you run for us, called Brevity Connect, which is our digital marketing kind of aspect of Brevity. So it's really cool. Man, you spend a lot of time and a lot of work with our developers kind of putting this thing together. So I'm excited to show that to you guys. So let's share our screen really quick, Grant.
Sounds great. Are we sharing on Facebook, by the way?
I don't think we're sharing on Facebook, only because when I do that, it goes into the Brevity Mastermind group that we have on Facebook.
Okay.
And those people mostly know about what we're doing. So no, but maybe that's a good idea for next time, Grant. You're always thinking, this guy's always trying to get some extra marketing angle for us. That's fantastic. Let's just do it this way for now. So, I didn't want to share this. What am I doing? Like, rookie move here. Does anybody want copies of my slide deck here? Maybe you will at the end. I'll give it to you if you want. You can see it's easily shareable. All right. So we're going to talk about the Brevity platform, better leads, and the platform to close them. And look, Grant, this day and age, like getting leads for your real estate business, it's not that challenging, right? If you've got a little bit of capital to invest, like leads we can get them, right? We can get them. And we've been able to get them for, between you and I and a couple other people on the team, we've been getting them for 20 years, right? It's really about how do we nurture and close these things, because leads in real estate generally have this life cycle of somewhere between 9 and 12 months on average. But we have people that show up in our world on our website or make an inquiry on some piece of marketing that we're doing. They're not going to buy or sell for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So it's one thing to get the leads, and we're going to talk about today how we do that. It's another thing to have this platform to not just close the leads, but to manage your business. So
yep.
We're going to talk about this today. And Brevity, if you're not kind of aware of who we are, where we came from, was founded by Ben Kinney. And Ben Kinney is a real estate agent still today. He's built up an empire of some sorts, Grant, right? He's got real estate sales teams. And I heard yesterday, I think we have 42 real estate sales teams that Ben partners with people around the United States. He owns brokerages. He owns a bunch of brokerages here in Western Washington. He actually owns a couple internationally as well, including some franchises in England. And then he owns software. And the software company, Brevity, was designed and built to manage Ben's growing business. And it was really to create systems, models, and leverage for him, right? And almost everything we do all day long is designed to create systems, models, and leverage for either agents, growth-minded agents, or real estate teams. Ben always wants us to let everybody know, anybody that's thinking about getting into business with us, that we don't do contracts. Granted, contracts they're a funny thing, right? Like a lot of times companies will lock you into a contract and you kind of won't hear from them. And then like on month 11, they're like, oh, we should call Grant. He might cancel, right? Like he's getting ready to renew. And then we don't have a contract, which means we have to earn your business every day. So we get up every single morning, we come to work with the aim of earning your business, because we don't have you locked in on a 12-month contract. So we're going to go through today and kind of talk about Brevity from this perspective of like Ben's lead generation model and kind of where business comes from, right? Business comes from your sphere, or it comes from, on our teams, we do a lot of open houses. And obviously the last year that's been limited in some areas, right? But we're a heavy prospecting team. We're constantly prospecting people we don't know, but also prospecting into the leads and the contacts we have in our database, right? Internet leads, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that today. When you do the work of working your sphere and lots of open houses, and you're out there prospecting, Grant, and you're working your past clients, you end up with listings, which generate leads, right? And then everybody's got this other thing, something you do that's maybe unique to you or your market, or maybe you're got a big name in your market, so you get a lot of referrals, right? There's always this other bucket. And we've built tools at Brevity to cover kind of all of the ways out there that real estate agents traditionally and and still today, right, are generating leads and business. Now, you're doing some element of this all the time. Grant, you're a licensed real estate agent. You have your own team. It's one of the cool things about working with Ben is he allows us to kind of take on whatever opportunities we'd like. And so one of the things that you do in addition to managing a massive ad budget in our digital marketing efforts here is you have your own team. And Grant, I know this because we talk about it all the time. You're doing all these things like all the time, right? Any given day as a real estate agent, you're either out there trying to find people, right? You're trying to capture them and get them into the database so you can nurture them, right? You're trying to close the deals with those people that ultimately you nurtured off to the point where they're ready to list or they're ready to get out and buy. And then you're trying to repeat this cycle. So you're following up your sphere and your past clients, and you're always in this thing. Now, what's traditionally happened, Grant, for people is they've done this at a bunch of different places, right? It's like I generate leads here and I do it on Zillow and Realtor.com. And when I go to open houses, I use the Open House Pro app and then I capture those leads. But man, I got leads all over the place and I'm trying to get them into my database constantly. But I always forget about those Zillow leads over here. And I've got that old website that's been there for 8 years. And sure, I get an email every time I get a lead there, but I never do anything with it. Right. And then when I finally get to the point where I've got a deal, I'm off working that deal on spreadsheets in Google. And then I use Top Producer to go my pat. Like it's not uncommon, Grant, that we come across people that have 8, 10, 12 different vendors or bills that they pay in their business every month. Right now, the funny thing about this is this map looks really simple. And this is kind of what Brevity is. And this is a little bit more complex looking, but this is your business in one place, right? Yep. We believe that we can help you get out in front of that traffic, wherever that traffic might be. Now, Grant, you specifically are really good at getting in front of that traffic online. But that traffic comes into our open houses. It drives by our sign when we've got a listing. If we're a heavy prospecting team, that traffic's on the other end of phone calls that we're making out to, so maybe we're circle prospecting an open house we have this weekend. Right now, we believe if you put the right content and messaging in front of that traffic, wherever you find it, Grant, that we can capture those people into our database, right? Represented by the CRM right there in the middle. Right now, Brevity's got IDX websites, right, that we put in front of buyers, or it's got seller websites. We've got valuation tools where somebody can say, hey, what's my house worth? We've got text capture options where you guys can market keywords or texting options for people to text in and get information. We've got a search app. We've got Brevity Marketer, which runs postcard campaigns and Facebook campaigns. And the whole aim of wherever that traffic is, whatever message we're putting in front of them, if we can capture them, is to get them into the CRM and nurture them, right? Buyers, we're going to nurture with listing alerts, right? We're going to send them properties from your website, attempting to drive them back so you can engage with them. Sellers, your past clients, sphere, people in your database that own a home that they live in, Grant. We're going to nurture them with market reports. We're going to let them know, hey, here's what's going on where you live. Here's what your neighbor's house just sold for. Here's what the house down the street's listed for, right? We're going to keep them updated. Now, eventually that buyer might see a listing they like, Grant, or the seller might go, hey, my neighbor's house sold for how much? Like, Grant, can you come list our house for that much? Right? And you'd have to do a CMA, which Brevity has. Okay. Yeah. With a buyer, you'd go out and you start writing offers. Grant, in this market, you might write a few offers, right? Before you finally got that house. But ultimately, you're going to have to manage that transaction. That buyer pending or that listing is going to need to be managed, and you can do that inside of Brevity at a really high level, right? Ben's superstar here in Bellingham managed about 600 listings last year by herself using Brevity with a little bit of VA support. And Brevity has virtual assistants that you guys could leverage or hire into your world. They're trained on Brevity. So that's kind of another element of this layout here, right? We see the virtual assistants and they can be deployed into many different aspects of your business. But you're going to manage that listing. And look, Grant, I know why you do this, right? You're a capitalist at heart, and you don't do this for I mean, look, we do it because we believe in delivering the dream of home ownership everywhere, right? But we want a paycheck at the end of the day for it, right? We want a paycheck for the work we put in. And so that green box is kind of where we all aim to get once we've gone through this whole cycle, right? But that's not the end, right? That's a past client now that's still in the database that we nurture. And so you can kind of do just about everything that your business needs inside of Brevity. So let's dive in here to this first kind of element, which go ahead.
Well, just what I will say, that diagram you had, that it's a real estate assembly line. I mean, yes, I do sell some real estate, but because the tools and everything's so automated, I mean, I'm able to work 60 hours a week for Brevity, and I just closed on my 8th, in what, 6 months?
Yeah.
And the only reason I can do that is because of the way I'm able to leverage so many different things. And I've been paying attention for the last 4 years.
You've been
to
paying
everything that Ben teaches, that Win-Make gives and everything. So, yeah.
All right. So the custom website is going to kind of start off your in many cases that other person's interaction with you, right? And look, your brand. I don't know what it is. You folks that are joining us, I don't know exactly what your brand is, but I do know that's different than the person that you share an office with or you have the office next to. It's different than the agent, at that same brokerage that you're in, but they're at the next office up the freeway, right? It's different than the if you're a Keller Williams, it's different than the Remax agent, right? It's unique, and your website can't be the same as everybody else in your office. It can't be the same as every other agent in your franchise, right? It really shouldn't even be the same as like other people using the same website provider that you use, right? Some of these places out there, Grant, a Boomtown or a Sync, some of these places, it's like you just kind of get what they give you out of the box. Now we give you something really awesome out of the box, but it's 99% customizable. You can totally customize these websites to have whatever look and feel represents your brand. And this guy, Travis Bard, this is one of our Brevity customers in Prescott, Arizona. His name's Travis Bard. And that is not Travis on the horse, Grant. But man, that looks just like him, doesn't it? We both know Travis. Like, Travis's belt buckle's a lot bigger than that dude's, because if that was Travis, his belt buckle would be sticking out from behind the horse's head, right? Like, but guys, if you've ever been to Prescott, Arizona, like right when you land on this website, this is Prescott, Arizona. They've got this old downtown, this old courthouse building that's kind of the center square of town, because this is a cowboy town. That courthouse looks like it was built in the 1890s or something. Like even the script on his website, the way he does the word Prescott, it just is a feel that's him, right? And this guy, Travis Bard, is a cowboy today. This dude does rodeos on the weekend. Like, this website represents him. And he could change every element on this page. He can add his own pages. We have this really easy drag and drop website editor interface where you could make your website look like anything you wanted it to look like today, and you could have it look totally different tomorrow if you wanted. Now, you're probably not going to do that. People don't spend a ton of time on the daily changing their website, right? No. But you do want to make tweaks sometimes. You want to, maybe you're trying to woo a builder, and so you want to go out and show them how easily you could build a builder page for his and represent his homes. It's really easy to use the website editor, and these websites can end up looking significantly different. This was an agent who came to us and said, "Hey, I got to represent instant offers. Like these things are coming into my market." We were like, "Yeah, cool. Let's build a page for you." We helped him build this instant offer page. It's the stress-free way of selling your house and, get an instant offer. And, here's some sellers we've helped do it. And here's a traditional sale versus an instant offer. And that was just something that had emerged in his market, right? Zillow Offers was there, Open Door, OfferPad, whoever these companies were, they were showing up in town. And so he had to find a way to kind of, he went and teamed up with some company that would make instant offers on his behalf if he had a client come to him. But the reality for him was, when you stack that offer up against a traditional sale, most of those people ended up doing a traditional sale, Grant. They came to him because he was marketing the instant offer stuff. So
good marketing.
Yeah. Here's a website in Olympia, Washington, and you can kind of see this one. It looks a lot different than Travis Bard's website down. That's the Olympia Brewery that anybody from this area would recognize. It looks a lot different than Travis's website over there in Prescott, Arizona, right? Yeah. So these things are 99% customizable. Now, Grant, the part we hold back from allowing them to customize are kind of the lead generation levers on the website. And we keep control of those really for one primary reason, Grant. Between you, me, Jared Hull, who kind of runs our website division, and Ben Kinney, the people that spend a lot of time thinking about how we can help Brevity clients get more leads, get more interaction, get more people to the website, get more of the people who come to the website to become a contact in the database. we've got a collective 80 plus years of experience doing this, right? All of us have about 20 years that we've been just focused on lead generation and conversion in real estate. So we keep that little piece, that conversion piece, we kind of keep that to ourselves, and we make those little tweaks for you guys. But everything else on the website, you can tweak. All right, this is Grant. Ooh, I love this. I love Brevity Connect. Like, I'm so excited watching people engage with this thing and watching consumers just flood back to agent websites. I'm excited to share about this. So Grant, at a really high level, like just really quick, tell me what Brevity Connect is, and then we're going to dive into it. Okay.
You bet. It's actually 3 campaigns in one. The first campaign is the lead generation component, which we generate leads via Facebook in a very unique kind of way. The second, which we'll talk about soon. The second is a retargeting campaign, which is really designed to get people to continuously return to the agent's website, to condition the user to use that website over and over and over again while they're nurturing. And then the third component is a remarketing campaign, which for the most part, its primary purpose is branding. And there's a wow factor when you go to CNN or Fox News and the top banner across the top is, the real estate agent, and who's been trying to do business with you, and you're going, wow, home values are skyrocketing, get an accurate home value from, the top team in the area, So all 3 of these work together, not just to generate a truckload of leads in some cases, but also to help that whole nurturing process and staying in front of the consumer.
The nurturing process, because look, like I said, Grant, we've been able to get leads for years, but the conversion rates on leads for years have been like 1%, 2%, right? We get 100 leads and people are converting 1 or 2 of those leads. And so we really set out to solve some problems when we created this. And I think there's been problems in lead gen on both sides. There's been problems for the consumer, and there's been problems for the agent as we think about internet leads in real estate, right? Here's some of the consumer problems. They don't remember where they visited or how you got their info, Grant. Like, I've 20-year career in real estate. I've called a lot of real estate leads. It wasn't uncommon for them to be like, wait, well, yeah, I guess I was clicking around on some stuff, but I don't know what site I was on. Or, I'm not even, how did you get my information? And you're like, you literally just filled it out an hour ago. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they don't remember, nope. Right? They don't. And then when you call them, they don't know why you're contacting them. And look, you might be a master on the phone and you might be really great at that first opening line to get them to put their defenses down. But the reality is, when they don't know why you're contacting them, sometimes they're just not going to answer the phone, right? But other times when they're going to be right on the defensive right away, like, wait a minute, who's this? What does he want, right? They don't know who you are. They were on your website, sure. They maybe they saw your picture, but it didn't register at all. Your brand didn't register. The website URL didn't register, right? Your brokerage didn't register with them. They just, what was registering at that minute was just whatever property they happened to be looking at, right? Yeah. But they didn't know you. And the reality is, they don't really care who you are when you're calling them, Grant, because why? Because they're not ready today. Like, we get this lead, and what do, Grant? We're like, let's go, let's get him. We gotta get him in the car. Like, this lead's gonna be my next paycheck, and you're counting in your head. They were looking at a $500,000 house. That's a $15,000 commission with my split. Like, right, we're day one, right? We get that lead. And look, I've been as guilty of that as anybody. But the reality is, they're not ready for 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, 18 months. Every once in a while, you get somebody that's like going to buy or sell in the next couple months, right?
New agents, by the way, react the way you said. If you've done any lead calling for even 30 days, those excitement days are over.
Right, exactly. But we still, we just want that next one to be the one that's going to pop soon, right? And a lot of times that's because it's frustration that none of the other ones have popped yet, right? But so it creates these problems on the agent side, right? Well, we don't know what their intent is. Like, we get a lead, sometimes like a Brevity lead, they're a little bit better. Maybe we know they were like a buyer and they're looking at particular properties, but we don't know if they maybe also have a house to sell, right? Like, we know very little about like what their real intent or motivation is.
Yep.
right? We don't know enough about their needs and wants, right? Like sometimes maybe we get, like if we're lucky, we get a lead that has like one property there, right? Maybe they came from Zillow and we're like, oh, here's a property they were interested in. But who knows? Grant, we've looked at a lot of leads. There's a rich dad uncle syndrome. You heard me say rich dad uncle? They're like, they looked at $1 million house, right?
Yep.
And you get them on the phone and they're like, yeah, we're approved to 300,000. And you're like, I thought you were looking at $1 million. That's rich dad uncle, right? They're like, if that guy would just pass away, I could buy that house. But I should probably be looking at these. So we just don't know enough about what they want.
Right.
We end up making cold calls, right? Like even if they were just on your website, and I've made a lot of calls to leads, even if they were just on your website, when you call them, they're like, oh, what? Oh, yeah, I was on a real estate. But it's a cold call. It's maybe not as cold as just picking up the phone book and dialing them.
Yeah.
Right. But it's still pretty cold. They're on the defensive. They don't know who you are. They're not ready. Right. They don't recognize us. They don't come back to our website. They don't know what it is. Grant, I'm convinced you could take, like, if you took 10 people right now, you just walked up behind them, they were on some site, and let's say it wasn't Facebook or, one of the big ones, right? You just grab their shoulders and spun them around and be like, which website are you on right now? They'd be like, well, I clicked on like an article. I was on Facebook and I clicked on an article. I'm not sure what site it actually was at the article, right? Like they don't know. They're not going to come back, right? And we don't convert enough of our old leads in our sphere and those old leads. They forget about us. Like we don't end up doing business with as many people as we could or should because they forget, right? A lot of times real estate's about kind of being there and presenting yourself at the right time when that consumer's ready, right? Every single person, if you've been in the business long enough, you've had a past client or somebody in your sphere do business with somebody else when you thought to yourself, what? Did they forget about me? And the answer is yeah, or somebody else showed up at the right time, right? So what would it be like if we could target them based on what they were doing? That'd be sweet. What if instead of just showing them properties on the web or on your website, we could just follow them around wherever they went and just keep throwing properties up? Grant, I was playing one of my games on my phone last night, and one of your clients was all over the ads in between my game as I wait, right? That'd be cool. And their properties were right there, right? Yep. Wherever they searched or visited online, what if they saw our brand, our logo, right? Offers from us to help them buy, sell, or invest. Like they're on CNN, we're there. Fox News, we're there. Wall Street Journal, you're there. Your local newspaper, like Bellingham Herald is what our little local is up here in Bellingham. You're there. That'd be sweet, right? What if like everybody in our database, old leads, past clients, sphere, what if we were top of mind? Because as they navigated this thing, their cell phone, they were on their computer, you were just there always, right? This kind of omnipresence. That would be really, really awesome. What if sellers, right? The sellers in your database started thinking to themselves, Grant Gould must spend $1 million on advertising. This guy he's all over my Facebook. He's on all the websites I go to. Whenever I got my phone and I'm in my apps, this dude's face is there. He must spend $1 million.
Yep.
Right? No, we just spend really targeted amounts right at that person. Okay. So we built that. It's called Brevity Connect. Here's what some people have had to say about it. So Phil said, in our first 20 days, they had 148 leads. 9 of them are hot. They have 5 buyer's agency agreements signed in the first 20 days, right? His cost per lead was over 50% less than he was spending with the other guy. With the other guys, Grant, right? Yep. Sorry, I don't have the COVIDs or anything, but I did have a tickle. This is Jacqueline Smith. Their ROI has been 10x. So Grant, like you used to be before, we're kind of a little bit more spaced out. You used to be like across this wall right here, right? Yeah. And if I walked over there like every day, I'd love to just give you $1 and you just spin around and be like, here's 10, Bob. I'd do that like 100 times a day, right? Like every time I could find $1, I'd run it into your office and be like, here, Grant. Now, look, there's some work that goes into converting leads. Don't get it twisted, right? Jacqueline runs a very successful business with a team that's very focused on what they do, right? But the cool thing about this is there are leads that they've already paid for that are going to continue to pay off. Their ROI is just going to increase, right? Yep. It's not going to decrease, right? And they've had some kind of crazy, that's not common, right? To have a contract written on a lead in 4 days, but they've done it. They've actually done it twice in under a week, one at 4 days and one at 7 days. Not common, right? Probably a little bit more common in this particular scenario. Look, Ken had just gotten started, but what I want to see here is his agents think the leads are better, and they may or may not be better, but the mindset of his agents, it really doesn't matter if the leads are better or not. With this mindset, they're going to close more.
Yep.
They're going to close more, right? And then Jeff, they've been tacking on a lot of additional GCI to their business, right? Jeff's down in Las Vegas.
That's an old statement. He's
we should update that. His numbers are okay. So when we get a lead, Grant, kind of explain to me what that bottom is, and then contrast it with what we see on the top there. The bottom being just kind of the traditional way that most real estate agents and still today nurture a lead versus what do we see on the top?
Sure. So the bottom represents probably the average contact rate of a lead in an agent's database in most systems out there. The lead comes in, they might get a phone call at the very beginning, an email, maybe a text. They might not. They are possibly set up on a listing alert, and it's just very infrequent contact with that lead. The top represents really, it's more in line with what Brevity's about. And if you follow the systems that we have in place, the best practices, not only when that lead comes in, are they going to be assigned automatically to a auto plan that will text. I mean, my auto plan texts them 5 times in the first 2 days because people respond to text. I was just talking to an agent that's on another program, and they limit, they're only allowed to text once. I was like, once? How can do you even get any response on one text? It just, that's horrible. I don't even know why a software company would do that. But in the auto plans, which do the emails, the texts, and all of that, setting up people on what are called market reports, listing alerts. But then we also have this whole other element, which is the display, the remarketing and the retargeting, which in addition to those other points are also hitting them every time they're on Facebook or every time they're reading they're on their favorite news site or looking at sports on their sports site, sports news. So really, that is what it takes in today's world to break through all the noise. Is that top line up there. And that's every single day what we wake up trying to figure out how to put another tick mark in that journey, because
journey. I love that word here, because this is, you think about this, the longer the journey, the harder it is to break through, especially with the bottom approach, right? If the person's looking, they're going to buy the next month, you might actually turn them into your client by touching them, 6 times. But when they're going to buy in 2 years from now and you touch them 6 times, maybe. And the reality is we've seen a lot of data. Most agents are touching a lead 2 or 3 times in the duration of the lifetime of the lead, right? So the longer their journey becomes, Grant, the more of an impact we can have with this top sort of approach.
It's the only way to get on the short list. And hopefully, if you've done a really good job, and again, our system is designed to put you in front of that person over and over again, even if their journey is 2 years. Let's say the husband retires, he gets his pension. That's when they decided they're going to sell that bigger house that they've been living in, for all these years. Kids are already gone, and they're going to buy this other place over here. But it's 2 years. Now, that doesn't mean they're not a good lead, because they are a good lead. They raised their hand for a reason. They became a lead for a reason. It's just how we handle that lead. And are we going to be at the top of the short list when they sell that house and buy another one? because that's the transaction I want is
in a perfect world, are we going to be the only one on the short list, right? I mean, there's the potential that over that 2-year lifespan, if you really, if you had one lead in your world, Grant, and it was those people, only one, like, you would do everything you could to just make sure that they loved you, that 2 years later they were going to list with you, right?
And you also do get the people that their journey is only 30 days. and that happens. And it's everything in between. And most agents that I speak with, even on a daily basis, even after they start running a campaign with me, they're looking for, Jack's magic beans. They think every lead, why isn't every lead ready to work with me? And that's not the reality of the world. It never has been, whether it's internet leads or it was the, Homes and Land magazine ad 30 years ago that said, the 10 things you better know about moving to Central Florida, or it could cost you your entire, your whole retirement. Get the free report.
Right. Call 1-800-555. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know about properties with when they call that 800 number.
All right. So, but lead quality matters, right? So normally you'd get a name, email, maybe you get a phone. Right. Yeah. If you get a Zillow lead, you have one property maybe that they looked at. Right. And traditionally internet leads, you've maybe had a property they looked at. Right. Brevity's going to get you name, email, and phone. Yep. We can get you their time frame. We're going to get you multiple properties viewed often by the first time you get to that lead. They aren't going to just have looked at one. In many cases, they will have looked at more than one property. Yeah. And sometimes they will have returned back to the website. It won't just be like they went there the first time. They obviously went there the first time, but they will have come back when you get in there by the time you get to that lead, right? And then there's this thing called intent questions. Talk about like what's an obvious intent question, Grant?
Well, intent questions do drive up costs, but some agents, they'd rather have the question asked. And a good intent question would be, do you have a home to sell? Yes or no.
Yeah. Have you been pre-approved for a mortgage?
Correct.
Right? Like if I had a lender that was splitting the cost with me on this, and we have tons of agents that have, get into a marketing agreement with a lender and they end up covering the cost on some of this stuff. That might, if my lender was covering half, I might be asking, hey, are you pre-approved for a loan? Right? Because if they said no, I'd want to make my lender call them first. Okay, so what to expect from Brevity Connect? Increased lead volume, qualified engaged leads, faster conversion times, more motivated agents, smart. That's such a big one. If you run a team, or if you've been somebody that's just kind of over the years, like you're like, leads, you need more motivated agents is a big deal, right? We can have smarter conversations with these people because we're going to see more of what they want. Not just one property. We're going to see multiple properties. We're going to see multiple visits, right? Massive website traffic. I mean, the increase in like most of the people that have started this, I don't have scientific. I look in a lot of databases and I work with a lot of our teams before and after they've engaged your service grant or your team. A lot of times it will double the amount of website traffic they have. Like in 30 days later, they will have twice as much website traffic as they had when they started this thing. And then
Jolene had 400 and something revisits in 24-hour period yesterday.
Yeah.
As in the database.
Yeah. That's insane. Jolene is that's Ben's kind of hub team in Bellingham.
I had 30 in my 1,500 person database.
Nice.
But even that's insane.
Yeah.
30 revisits.
These are managed on your behalf by experts. Grant, there's a Brevity user last night. He was in our masterminds group and he was asking questions about Facebook, and I couldn't help myself. I just couldn't help myself. He's asking questions about he's running his own ad campaigns on Facebook. And look, I get it, right? Like, but I went in. Did you see my comment? You've heard me say this before, but I said, hey, you know what you're doing? You're a FSBO. And like a real estate agent does not want to be called a FSBO. Like, what do you mean FSBO? I'm a FSBO. Like, yeah, you're a FSBO because here's what a FSBO does. They go out and they try to compete against professional marketers of homes. Real estate agents are professional marketers of homes. FSBOs trying to compete against them, thinking they're going to get more money because they saved on that commission, right? But the reality is,
I just signed somebody up that the reason they called and scheduled with me is because they heard you say that a couple weeks ago. And she said, we don't want to be FSBOs.
Yeah. But listen, but they think the FSBO thinks I get more money because I don't have to pay this commission. Yeah. The real estate agent who wants to run their own ads, I guess they think, oh, I can do this. But the problem is FSBOs, studies show, they consistently get less money. And by the way, they get sued more often.
Yeah.
So they're taking on more risk to get less money, right? Grant, you have a team of people.
A FSBO marketer I mean, it comes down to how much is your time worth, for one.
That's right.
If you're an agent, it takes time to do these campaign things. Secondly,
And you're not doing it all day long. You're competing. Even like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola doesn't run their own digital marketing. They have a firm that does that, right? Because they realize, like, wow, we should let these guys who do this all day long do this, right? So it's managed on your behalf by experts. And it's not just Grant. He's got a whole team of, I mean, let's be honest, Grant, the people that run these things are probably smarter than you. Yes. I mean, they're Jen and Sarah, and these guys are sharp, right? They're it's what they do, right? It's what they went to school for. They grew up doing this stuff. They've been trained by Google and Facebook on these things, right? Like, if you're an agent trying to run your own marketing, the reality is, and you said it, Grant, your time could be better spent somewhere else, right? Absolutely. Your dollar per hour is best spent talking to your customers or your prospective customers, being on the phone, right? Being out, meeting people, showing houses, listing appointments. Yep. Like that's where you make your money, right? Now you can make money going out and generating leads, but we could do it better, faster, more efficiently, more affordably. All right. So lower cost leads. So this is an example of a campaign. And this is Jeff Eller. We saw his old testimonial earlier. He's in Henderson, Nevada. Grant, so when we run a campaign, do we just do the same campaign for everybody around the entire United States?
No, even this campaign is changed. We're not actually running this Henderson Homes because it kind of wore itself out.
Okay, so tell us what was this one we were doing? This Henderson Homes for sale with private pools between $500,000 and $1 million.
Yeah, so we were marketing to people living in the Las Vegas area, especially, kind of centered on where there's a lot of multi-unit stuff going on. So a lot of community pool stuff. And the reason why we were running the campaign there is because a lot of those community pools have been closed for the last year.
We started around this last August when it was 115 degrees in Vegas, right? Their pools are shut down. People are living in high rises and condos and townhome complexes, and they're like, honey, we should move out to Henderson and get our own pool. Like, I want this pool to open back up.
Yeah, because it's part of the lifestyle there, having a pool to swim in when it's hot. So, but again, it's a matter of understanding what's going on in the market at the time. This one, the cost per lead got a little bit higher than we wanted. So we actually switched it up and we started running an actual condo first-time home buyer campaign, because there's a lot more first-time home buyer inventory. And one of the problems, even if they had a good lead for a Henderson pool house, that finding them a Henderson pool house became a challenge.
That market got tight.
Yeah. So after a review call and with Jeff, and we decided there's tons of inventory in the condo. A lot more inventory there. So we actually switched it up. It actually dropped our cost per lead down to under $2 a lead, which was awesome. And the campaign's done really, really well. And really in every single market, there's a different price range, that we want to target. I like to try to target, if we can, because inventory is so low, more listings. So, buyers are sellers, and a lot of times. And if you're targeting the properties in the right price range that is attractive to the move-up buyer, let's say, and you're showing the ad to a geography where those move-up buyers live, they already own a place here. And, even in this example, they owned a condo, and but they need to sell that property before they can buy this new thing, the new shiny object they're looking at. So indirectly, we're actually generating seller leads.
Love it. All right, so this is a really big deal. This next piece, I feel like I should have balloons and streamers that drop from the sky or something here, Grant. But okay, so we use Facebook forms, and the cool thing about Facebook forms is they auto-populate the person's name and email address as their email is in Facebook, right? Yep. Now the phone number doesn't auto-populate unless Facebook has it on file. And what we've learned is Facebook has a lot of phone numbers. Like, I didn't even know how I don't know how they got mine. Grant, I think you had said, I think they got it probably two-factor authentication at some point. They asked me to two-factor authenticate the app on my phone or something.
I don't remember doing it, but you did it.
I don't remember doing it, but I know when I go to a Facebook form now, it fills in my name, email, and phone number, and I've never thought to turn it off. What do I care? Like, Facebook has my phone number. Everybody's got my phone number, right? Facebook knows everything about me anyway. They know how much I make. They know where I work. They know what my credit score is. Like, they know everything about me. Let's not get it twisted. What do I care if they have my phone number, right? But here's the deal. So they fill out that form and they go, okay, yeah, right? And then we use this thing. It's called an interstitial page, right? This, like, Facebook has, it says, okay, like, you just fill this form out. Now you're going to go see the details and the photos about this property. That button right there, see details and photos. We spend a lot of time with our developers, right? Figuring out, how do we make it so when they click that, they land on your website logged in. And see up in the top there, like, hi, Curtis, right? Logged into the website. This is huge. This is so big. And you can't do this yourself. Nope. If you go to Facebook, you can't, I promise you, unless you have a team of developers, you're not going to be able to run Facebook ads that drive people to your website and log them in automatically so you can start tracking their behavior from the instant they land on the site. What most people would have to do, Grant, and what if you're running your own Facebook ads, you're running them through Command or you're running them through wherever, what you would end up having to do is you would capture them on the Facebook form, and then you would drive them to a page. But when they land there, they're just there. They're not logged in. You're not tracking them, right? And then if they want,
go ahead.
If they want to do something, they want to favorite a property, request a showing, set up a search of their own. They'd have to register again, and that experience is horseshit. Ooh, horrible. Did I say horseshit? Sorry, horrible. It's a horrible experience for the consumer. Right? Because they just gave you their information. Now you're popping a form and they're like, what? Like,
there's only one other place they can do that. And that's Brevity Marketer.
Yeah, Brevity Marketer, right? We've got that same thing. You can run self-serve ads on Brevity as well.
Or single property ads, but that's different than what we're doing here.
Yeah, single properties. You have to have a listing. You know, those things sell now really fast. So, all right, we got this thing called Zach. It kind of helps us keep the right properties in front of the right people. Forget about that. So we've got these ads targeted. All right, let's talk about so once we start generating leads, right? How do we help Facebook make it even smarter? Like, what do we do here? What's a lookalike audience?
Sure. So lookalike audience is where we are tracking a high intent activity that the users are performing on the website. So a high intent activity, for instance, could be somebody conducted a search. So a person who actually engages in a home search shows higher intent than a person who comes into the website, stays for a second, and leaves. So there's different degrees of higher intents.
Right. Favorite a property is a higher intent than just viewed a property.
But you have to have enough showing. You have to have enough data to do that. So you need a certain amount of data to make it viable. Jolene's site actually has enough data to do those, to track those kinds of things. But the average agent doesn't, mine doesn't for sure. So I track searches. And what I'm able to do is take that high intent bucket of people and do what's called a lookalike audience off of them, where I'm basically feeding back, hey, give me more people that look like these. And then what Facebook does is Facebook actually generates a big audience of people that line up digitally, with those individuals. So let's say, I get 100 leads, right? 100 leads come through, or let's say it's 1,000, right? Over time, I got 1,000 leads. Yep. And 100 of them did a high intent activity. So essentially we take that 100 and we go, hey, Facebook, look, there's been these 1,000 people have been on the website, but I want you to look at this group of 100, and I want you to find us more people that fit the profile of this group of 100. And they go in, they crunch the data. They know where those 100 work. They know how much money they make. They know how long they've lived in the house they live in. Like, they know a lot about us, right? And they go, okay. And they go help us actually refine the audiences that we're targeting with the advertising. And look, here's the deal with Facebook. At the end of the day, there's a movie called The Social Dilemma. It's a great movie, or it's a documentary on Netflix. At the end of the day, Facebook is here to make money,
Like that at the end, and they do that by matching the right ad with the person inside Facebook that's most likely to take action on that ad.
Yep.
Right. And we give them more advertising dollars the better they get at matching those people. So when we can feed them back and say, hey, get better, Facebook's like, yeah, we'll get better. If you'll keep giving us the dollars, and we're like, yeah, we'll keep giving you the dollars if you get better. Right. And it's this ecosystem that's really, really powerful. And you guys all know this, because when you go on Facebook or you go on the apps on your phone or you're on a website, what do you see? You don't see what I see. Grant, well, you know what I see, Grant. I see shoes, I see hats, and I see Disneyland, right? Well, right now I'm seeing Cabo because I'm going down to Mexico in a little bit here, but the internet knows what we're doing. They know what all of us are doing. If you go look at if you go look for a couch yesterday, what do you see today? You see freaking couches everywhere.
Shoot, if you talk about it in your living room and you got Alexa on, you'll start seeing it.
I mean, seriously, some of us are convinced. Look, and I'm halfway there. Some of us are convinced this thing's listening to us all the time. Like, I say Ferrari in a room. I can't afford a Ferrari. You know what's funny is they'll give me Ferrari ads right away. But then Facebook will be like, oh, wait a minute, we messed up. We shouldn't have given that guy Ferrari ads. He can't afford a Ferrari, right? Like, they know. They absolutely know. So it's not only that we generate the leads and we get better at generating even more precise leads over time. Then we start to dynamically retarget. So dynamic property targeting, where we take every lead, and it's not just the leads we generate for you. It's any contact that we can get to your website looking at properties. So that might be, you might have a business right now where when we come on to Brevity, we get a bunch of listing alerts in place on your existing database, and that starts driving visitors to your existing website. We can retarget those people. It doesn't have to be a lead that we generate for you. So I
was going to say, like, even if they, for instance, were holding an open house using our open house form and, sent something to them that had a link back to that IDX page on, that open house, and the user clicked on it, guess what just happened to that user?
You start tracking them. They get pixeled.
You will see that they, first of all, went back to the site after after your open house marketing, but then they'll start seeing more houses similar to the open house they were just in. And because it's not only tracking them, it's tracking what they like. And it's actually doing matching. It's like a listing alert on Facebook that's delivered on Facebook that gets smarter every time they engage in a new home.
So let's say they were at that open house, and then that open house was here in Bellingham. And then they got on your website and they're like, you know what, prices in Bellingham are a little bit high. If we just went out to the county, out to Linden, we could get a bigger house for less money. And they on your website, they started looking at Linden instead. Well, we're not going on Facebook or Instagram or any of the other places that we retarget them, which, by the way, Grant, the more that I see this stuff, the more I realize Facebook's reach extends far beyond Facebook and Instagram, right? Yes. Like when you're on, there's different apps now that are using Facebook's ad network to target in there. And so I was reading a news article the other day, and halfway through the news article, all of a sudden I had a bunch of listings in Phoenix for this particular agent because I'd been on her website helping her with something, and I'm now getting listings in Phoenix, right? Like in line in an ad or in an article that I was reading. So these things are on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're up in the stories in those locations. They're making their way out to different news sites in different places. Yeah. And it's updated. The feed is live. Those people are always seeing new listings. The pendings go away, and we're constantly on the fly changing what they see based on what they were doing and based on what's active.
And it already knows who they are, which is really important too, because again, it's seamless user experience to them. They see that, that 7 houses that we just showed them. They go, wow, that one, 3 of these houses are exactly what we're looking for. Well, of course they are, because we're feeding them listings based on.
And when they click back on those things and they land on your website, they're logged in.
They are logged in.
And that's a really big deal. I can't overstate it.
When you're, as the agent, when I'm in my CRM, not only do I see that in the dashboard, the revisit, but which is huge because now that becomes my call list. That becomes my target list. That's what my ISA focuses on, is revisits and dashboard visit, in the dashboard logs. Yep. And you can see that they looked at that one. You go to their timeline, and again, you get to see all of the times they interacted with
there's so much value in here. Like here's just something most people wouldn't even think about. Grant, your ISA knows when to call them because he can tell that every day between noon and 1 o'clock when they're on their lunch break, they're in there looking at properties, right? So he's going to call them when they're looking at properties, right? And he knows these are on their lunch break. All right, the display network stuff, we're just going to, all them, if we can get them to your website, we're going to follow them around the internet. We're going to put properties in front of them on Facebook and Instagram and in Facebook's network, but no matter where they go, any of these places, in the local websites, there's 100,000 websites, they're going to be everywhere. And this branding, this just kind of all-out brand assault on them, it makes for warmer phone calls. Like Grant, people say to you when you call, "Oh yeah, I see you everywhere."
I hear it all the time.
And you're like, "I am everywhere."
Yeah.
But only to them, right?
Only to them,
you're not spending $50,000 a month on advertising, which in their head is what you must be doing because you're on the Wall Street Journal, you're on the Seattle Times, you're on the Bellingham Herald, you're on CNN, you're on ESPN, you're on Fox News, you're on MSNBC. It doesn't matter if you lean left or right.
Yeah, I am everywhere to about 1,600 people.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. So we're gonna get listing alerts and market reports in place. This is a function of Brevity. Auto plans. Grant was talking about the dashboard where you can see all this activity and these return visits and different things. It's going to be better data immediately and ongoing. This is one lead. This is very uncommon. If you got a lead from Zillow, you'd have one property. You wouldn't have the property they came in at 918. And then, 3 hours later, they were back on the website. And then 10 minutes later, they were back on the website again. Like we're just constantly driving these people back. So by the time they got to this lead, they could call them and they had a sense that this person's kind of looking all over Whatcom County, right? And they probably are interested in a 3-bed minimum, right? But they could buy from Blaine to Cedar Woolley. Like that's a wide spread there, right? But it gives us a better conversation to have with this lead. So it's warmer calls, it's easier conversions. All right, Grant, I'm going to fly through. We have 8 minutes left. I'm going to fly through the rest of Brevity. I mean, we focused on Brevity Connect. Guys, this is one of those, like, I'm going to take a deep breath right now, and I'm going to hammer through what other things Brevity has. So we can bring all your leads in from anywhere. Doesn't matter where. We can get them all into Brevity. Doesn't matter. We have all kinds of virtual tools. And the reason I show this slide is not necessarily, we have lots of tools and little things like this, but we created these when COVID hit. And the reason is because we are owned by a real estate agent that's in the field practicing with you guys. So when conditions change, like COVID was a massive disruption, we got to change. And we took our entire dev team, and in 1 week, we built virtual tools for virtual showings, virtual open houses that people could do. And we just cranked it out in a week because we were able to just point our entire dev team at that thing because our own businesses required that we shifted it on the fly, right? So that's a big deal. We're not owned by a venture fund, right? Who doesn't really, you got to have a manager's manager approve the big change to take the whole dev team. Like that doesn't happen in most places, right? It doesn't happen when you're owned by a title company or a venture capital fund. It happens when you're owned by a real estate agent with boots on the ground who had to pivot like in a minute. Yeah. All right, open house. If you guys do open houses, our open house registration pages are amazing, right? Bring the leads in, drop them into the CRM, set them up on listing alerts automatically. You could have auto plans firing off, all kinds of seller lead capture pages you can build easily. We give them to you built already, but you guys could change them if you wanted or make other variations of them quickly. I absolutely love it. It's text-based. It goes out at your listings. You get a keyword. People can text in. It connects into your MLS to get information about properties. You get their cell phone number. They get the information about the property. If you do any kind of physical marketing, I don't care what, postcards, you put out a sign when you represent a builder, obviously your listing sign. Text calls to action are really powerful. If you do events at all, we've got an amazing strategy around how to generate really great leads at events like a farmer's market or a home show or something like that. Auto plans are amazing. We can automate them. They can fire without you doing anything. You could have a plan for every Zillow buyer lead gets this plan applied right when it comes in. Text messages, emails, and then tasks for you or your agents to follow up. The plans are shareable. We give you Ben Kinney's plans. Like we give the 10 days of pain, which is the lead conversion plan that Ben's team uses. You can have it. There's thousands of Brevity clients that are using it, and it's really effective. Ben's team sold over 6,000 homes in 2020. All right. Auto plan sharing, right? We can share these plans. obviously listing alerts. We're always on the hunt for or seller prospects. So every listing alert we send out has a seller call to action. Hey, do you need to sell your house before you buy the next one? Which it's insane that everybody doesn't do that, but everybody doesn't do that. We do. Market reports. My mom is a real estate agent. Easily her favorite thing that Brivity's ever given her is her market report tool. She gets come list me responses to her market reports every month. Now she's got 4,000 of them set up on her 5,000 person database. But every month somebody raises their hand and goes, Gail, we appreciate you sending these to us. Do you think we could get what Jim and Sally just got for their house down the street? And Gail's like, I don't know. Let me come out to your house and tell you, right? Cutting edge, go on the go, right? Brevity Go. You got to be able to have your CRM in your pocket because most of you guys don't sit at a computer all day. You're out negotiating contracts and letting inspectors in and meeting a photographer and at a listing appointment. You have to have your CRM in your pocket, right? The Brevity dialer, when you do sit down, because you're going to work on your database and you're going to follow up your past clients, you're going to call your sphere, you're going to call old leads, right? We can do that. We have a dialer. You can make call sessions of up to 50 people at a time. It's super efficient. We have this message center. It's kind of the same, CRMs are weird. A lot of CRMs, like if I want to see the text message, I got to go to the contacts record. It's not how my phone works. I don't have to go pull your name up, Grant, in my phone to see the text I've had with you. I just go to my message center and see all the texts I've had. Same concept here. We have a CMA tool that you could use to do your CMAs, and it uses your data from the MLS, and we pull it in, and we use this 5-5-5 method of pricing properties, which is we pull 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 solds. You identify them, but we crunch the numbers behind the scenes to give you the price or the price range. Transactions, there's automatic transactions with transaction auto plans. Like I said, we have one gal in Bellingham, Washington that managed about 600 listings for our Washington state teams last year. Now she's really, really talented and smart and bright individual, Olivia. But that's a lot. We see teams that when they get to 10 or 12 a month, that their systems start to break down and their director of ops and their admin people are like overwhelmed. We're managing 50 a month, right? 50 listings a month. Communication. So during the transaction process, the transaction, Brevity communicates everything that you want communicated to the client. It's really powerful. It actually solves the number one issue that year over year consumers say they have with listing agents. In real estate, when we list a house, Grant, what's the number one complaint the consumer has?
Lack of communication.
Lack of communication. And you guys can go to the NAR home buyer and seller, what they call it the generational trends report now. But inside that NAR generational trends report, they ask sellers like, what could the agent have done better? And communication is always at the top of that list. So we set out to solve that for you. We've got a thing called Brevity Marketer. We do artificial intelligence targeted postcards, AI targeted postcards, where we go out and let's say you have a just listed home or a just sold. We build the campaigns automatically for you based on the data in the MLS, and you can customize the templates or whatever it's going to look like. But every time you take a new listing, we build a new campaign. It's waiting there for you to send. All you got to do is go and say, how many do I want to send it to? I want to send it to 300 homes. Then we target the best 300 homes, not the nearest 300 homes. So we wouldn't send a postcard to the neighbors, Grant, if they just bought 3 months ago. They're thinking about curtains and couches, right? We'd send it to the guy 7 doors down that bought 7 years ago who might be thinking about selling his place, right? Because that's when people start to think about selling. So we got all these factors we look at to try to get the right postcard in the right mailbox. And then we track on there what they did. And as they go, and if they go to the URL on that postcard, we track it back to that particular house. We actually generate a lead for you on that. Look, the postcard tool is massively powerful. You can do anything you want. There are custom postcards. You can target farm an area and go send postcards to an area you don't know. You can do it around your just listings, your just solds. We got holiday cards in there. And then Brevity Marketer also has Facebook single property style ads and home value ads that you can run out of Brevity Marketer. We've got a thing called Brevity Design, which is like one of the most underutilized tools that we have, but it's a Canva-like deal where you can spin out and lay out hundreds of designs, kind of build one design and it'll spin it out into hundreds of different sizes. We have VAs that are trained on Brevity, blah, blah, training, on and on. All right, this is it. Here's what I want you to do. while we were sitting here today, if you're interested in what we just talked about, Brevity Connect, the Brevity platform, and I realized I just banged through what I mean, I wanted to focus on Connect. Yeah, that last 8 minutes, that's heavy stuff right there. I mean, there's a lot in there. But here's what I want you to do right now. You just spend an hour with us. If you're like, this might be for me, okay? I want you to pull your phone out right now, and I want you to text the word platform to the number 59559. So you're going to be like, who am I sending a text to? I'm sending it to 59559. And the body or the message of that text, just text platform. Okay. When you do that, it'll send you back a link where you can go jump on one of our calendars to talk to us individually about Brevity. Here, the pricing here, Brevity starts at like $99 a month and goes all the way up. If you had everything and you're a mega team, right, it's like $1,200 a month. Now, Brevity Connect is additional. It's something different, and it's a program that you add to kind of the Brevity platform. Yep. Okay. There's a few others like Brevity Marketer. If you do postcards, that's an additional cost. Okay. But text platform, and you can talk with Connor or Jake or Tyler or Sarah or one of our amazing team about what you need in your business. Okay. And some teams need it all, right? Some individual agents, they don't need it all. They want to get started here, right? And so we've got price points to match your budgets. This thing was built by Ben Kinney. His team was the number. They actually reclassified them. They're a team, but the Wall Street Journal reclassified them as a small brokerage, which is insane. They were still like the number 2 or something small, which just, again, he's the number 1 team in the United States last year. But we built this thing to help you scale no matter how big you want to be. Okay, so text platform to 59559. Grant, thanks, bud. I appreciate you being here today. The rest of you guys who joined us, thank you. If you have any questions, platform to 59559. Somebody will reach out and talk to you. You can schedule on the link that we fire back to you. All right. It's Wednesday. Happy hump day, Grant. Get out here, crush the rest of your week, buddy. We'll see you soon, okay?
You too, buddy. Have fun if I don't see you before Friday.
Oh, hey, I'm going on vacation, you guys. I'm out of here. I'm already in vacation mode. We'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Enjoy.